Hello. I'm probably late on this review, but I'm gonna be talking about this anyway. Does anyone remember those two characters from Infinity War, right? The two that were living in Scotland and were shown to have some sort of romantic connection between them, but then, yeah, I don't really have to explain it. I think you guys know about Wanda and Vision, right? The lady that's like magical, and then the robotic man guy that's Vision. From what I remember from Infinity War, their relationship was never really expanded upon until now. WandaVision came out, and all 9 episodes are out. So it was actually a joy to watch, and it really did help redefine the much underdeveloped relationship between Wanda and Vision. Hence the name WandaVision. I'm gonna be reviewing the show, and this review isn't gonna be your average review, because instead of talking about the show overall and giving an overall rating, which I will still do at the end of the video, I'm gonna be going through each episode by episode, and then reviewing each of the episodes every time I describe the episode, if that makes sense. So I'm not gonna be talking about the overall show. I'm gonna go one by one and just have it segmented like that, right? Because of that, obviously, spoiler warning, there will be spoilers in this video, obviously, because I'm gonna be going through every single episode in depth. So, yeah, I'm not going to be talking about any theories or any of that stuff, just about what the show presented and what I expected from it. So yeah, let's just get on with the review. The first episode of WandaVision, looking back now, was a great start to setting up this show's overarching concept. It starts with Wanda and Vision riding into the town Westview, and then ends with an unnerving dinner scene where Wanda's guest starts choking on some of his food, and then his wife simply repeats, "Oh, stop," or something like that, over and over again. Now, I really need to separate this scene from the rest of the episode, because while the rest of the episode are really cutesy and helped in establishing the relationship pretty well between the two main characters, Wanda and Vision, this one scene with the guy choking really helped in establishing to the viewer what was actually going on. The show isn't what it showed itself to be. Even looking at the facial expressions of the choking man's wife, you know that she was aware that he was choking, but she can't do anything about it. You can see it in her face. Also, I might add that I'm pretty sure the guys over at Marvel decided to actually hire an audience to react to the show, or at least the first few episodes, and so they didn't actually use a laugh track for this episode. The seats for the audience is shown in episode 8, but like, it's actually crazy how they actually introduced a real audience as if it's the 1950s/60s, and then just went ahead with that. It's actually insane. The amount of detail in this show is actually crazy. I love it. Each episode has different adverts, right? All of which are clever symbolic references to what's actually happening, what's going to happen in the show itself. And the first episode has a simple toaster advert, but actually serves to foreshadow Wanda's past. I found this actually particularly cool, because it really does show how much the writers cared to include symbolism everywhere in the show. Even the town's name is symbolic. Westview. Westview is symbolism, obviously, because the W in West and then the V in View is West View, WV, WandaVision, WV. It's actually insane. So yeah, this episode was a great start, really cute, but then really unnerving at the end. A solid 9 out of 10. Great, cute, clever setup for the rest of the show. Now, episode 2 was more of the same with episode 1. Same black and white theme, same overall tone, same cutesy Wanda and Vision scenes, though now you have some more obvious faults in terms of the breaks in Wanda's reality. First, we have the red helicopter toy thing, which is actually in color, which basically came out of nowhere. This was a good setup for future sword stuff, and the play on color was actually pretty well done at foreshadowing the fact that the helicopter was not from Wanda's reality. After this, we go on to meet Dottie, a type of villain-ish for all that time, and someone I don't really mind in terms of character. She was pretty much on the side for the rest of the show, but for that one episode, she was good as a anti-hero, I guess, just an opposite to Wanda. We also meet a certain Monica Rambeau, who will have more importance later in the story. And then we have the magic performance, which was another cute and funny moment that helped establishing the fact that Wanda and Vision were in a relationship. So this episode really had a lot of weird shit in it, while also staying true to the first episode's theme of being cute and sitcom-y. It's very nice, very cool. I liked it. Again, another solid episode with a lot of clever setup. So 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Episode 3, the third episode was much of the same as the two prior to it, except now it was in color. I don't really have much to say about this episode, except for the fact that I thought they really hammered in the pregnancy joke a bit too much. It was the entire point of the episode, basically. Now, one Rambeau character made a return, and by the end of it, she got kicked out of Wanda's bubble. I feel like they were a bit too quick at advancing the plot here, as I would have liked to see more of her character within the bubble itself. This is also thanks to the fact that later in the show, it was suggested that Rambeau had actually been entranced by Wanda. And so it would have been nice to see Rambeau break away from the mindset of being trapped in the bubble over several episodes, instead of her doing it basically off screen. Like in the second episode, she got introduced, she seemed pretty normal, but we don't really know if she's already escaped the bubble, right? But the third episode, obviously, she breaks away. Besides this though, this episode was still very cutesy. Not much to add in it. There's nice abrupt cut moments, especially the part with Vision trying to pry himself in. So I have to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. It was a good one. It was a good episode. Episode 4. Episode 4. This is the part where they actually just dropped the ball. Right, I did not like episode 4. Now don't get me wrong, I very much like the introduction sequence where Rambeau, Monica, snaps back to reality, snaps. I get it? Okay. And we get to see a more chaotic moment of Hulk snap from Endgame. This is really, really cool, right? Because it's all the chaos and stuff. But then the rest of the episode happened, and it was just filler. It was actually just filler. It didn't really expand the overarching plot much, and Sword's perspective, which was shown in this episode, was just a simple explanation to the viewer of what's actually happening in Westview. The only thing I really liked about this episode was Jimmy Woo, because he's actually pretty funny, and I actually like him a lot. But besides that, it was just a huge break away from what the show was telling itself to be, and I couldn't help but feel disappointed after watching this episode. So yeah, 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. Now, episode 5. This was where we're gonna see how Marvel was gonna run the Westview portions and the Rambeau portion side by side. Now, when I say Westview portions, I mean the sitcom-y stuff. When I say Rambeau portions, I mean the sword stuff, right? So the modern sword stuff, the generic stuff. The Westview portions of the show were as great as always, right? Setting up future moments, having cutesy moments between the couple, while also providing beautiful and loving scenes. All of it is perfect, right? Here I'm talking about the scene where Vision frees one of his civilians in his workplace, only to find out that they're being tortured by her. We're not told who her is yet, but we'll get onto that later. Now, all of this I liked, right? But then you get the long scenes of the Rambeau portion of the episode, and I just can't help but think, when are we gonna get back to the Westview portion? These moments are just annoyingly long and boring, and really don't serve any overall importance to the story. They could have easily been removed. They could have just been removed completely from the show, and they could have just implemented the important moments from the Rambeau portions, if there are actually any, into small unnerving moments like they did in episode 2. Now, not only would this help with the pacing of the episode and future episodes, but would also allow for a more cryptic explanation for what Sword was trying to do. So, in episode 2, when Jimmy was trying to contact Wanda, it's like, we know that someone's trying to contact her, but we don't know the actual intricate details of it. And that I liked, because it left room for theorizing. But here, in episode 5, we get to see what they're doing still, but it's just so in your face. It's actually mind-numbing. I can't rate this episode as if it didn't have the Rambeau portions. So I'm gonna have to give it a solid 6 out of 10. Rest in peace, Sparky. He was a good dog. Episode 6, the Halloween special. This episode was actually much better than episode 5, even though it still had the Rambo sections. What I forgot to mention when discussing episode 5 was the fact that they actually introduced the Evan Peters version of Quicksilver. He actually plays an important role in this episode, important-ish. He kind of just plays the fun uncle. Probably the best 3 moments of this episode are the commercial, the scene where Vision is wandering on the outskirts of Westview, and then the scene where Vision actually leaves Westview only for his body to start disintegrating. So in regards to the commercial, this is just another one of those really clever foreshadows designed in a manner where if you didn't get what the commercial was referring to, you'd still be able to enjoy the commercial's visuals. I like the claymation style of the commercial. It really did fit the era it was based on, and I really liked it. I also just loved how dark the commercial actually was, and served to be a great reminder for how good the show had initially been. In terms of the Vision scenes, I just personally love Vision as a character. And so any scene in which he's the main focus is a scene I will just love. The scene where Vision successfully escapes Westview, only to be pulled slowly back into it bit by bit, was simply a wonderful yet deeply unnerving scene to watch. It's simply one of those scenes that changed the entire atmosphere of the episode. Granted, the scenes of Vision wandering Westview also helped to achieve this, and so I couldn't help but finish this episode with a grin on my face. This episode was a return to the first few episodes, despite the Rambo section still making an appearance, and so for that reason, I'll have to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. So, episode 7 is similar to episode 3 in the sense that I really don't have anything to add. Episode 7 was more of the same type of stuff to be expected of the show. Great Westview portions and meh Rambo portions. I did enjoy the fact that the old sword base from the previous episode turned into a circus. This fact seemed to represent my feelings towards the Rambo portion of the show quite well. Maybe they're self-aware. Who knows? Anyway, good episode. I like the twist at the end with Agatha Harkness. Her song was quite good, even though I did cringe to it first. After listening to it again though, it's actually a good song. I actually like it now. The Vision scenes in the episode were as good as they always were. Nothing to add there. So yeah, just a good episode. A solid 7 out of 10. Episode 8. It's never good to really preamble stuff with you might get annoyed by this, but you might get annoyed by this. I didn't really like the episode. Yeah, I get what they were going for. A cool flashback kind of episode, filling in the context of what would have likely been absent in the overall story, but they didn't really execute it well. I did enjoy the visuals, but other than that, it was just another filler episode. It didn't really add to the plot much, and was simply just a huge self-explanation, exposition dump type of episode. Not really my style. They could have handled this in a much more unique way, kind of, like, they kind of did a unique thing with it, like the door thing, but they could have done something much better. They could have provided like the necessary information while still allowing for the viewer to be engaged, but you probably were engaged. I don't know, it's up to you. You might have liked the episode. I can see why. It's not really a bad episode, it's just one that I feel like was too long, too unnecessary. So yeah, 4 out of 10, like episode 4. The finale, right? The finale. I like the finale, actually. I actually like the finale. It was good at encompassing all the foreshadowing done throughout the entire show, and created a nice conflict between the 3 parties. So, Wanda and her family, Sword, and Agatha, right? White Vision appears in this episode, and I have to say, I'm not annoyed by this because of the fact we got to see a very cool fight between Westview Vision and White Vision. And yeah, actually I forgot to mention that White Vision appeared in the show. There's a lot of stuff in this episode. When I talk about the fight between Westview Vision and White Vision, I'm not talking about the wacky laser fight. I'm talking about the cool philosophy conversation between the 2 visions. This was the perfect battle for the 2 visions, and I'm actually so glad Marvel decided to end their conflict in this way. It was just such a creative and great scene overall. and I'm really glad they did it. I'm really glad they did it. It's probably my favorite moment of the finale. He just like yeets off into the sky in the white vision and is never to be seen again. It's just, yeah, I actually just liked it. It's probably a perfect scene. Wanda was given a not so clever conclusion to her conflict with Agatha because she was just given a rather roughly put together magic fight. And though she used the runes shown in the previous episode to finish off Agatha, I mean just beat her, not kill. They don't really kill anyone in this show, which I'm happy for, by the way. But besides her just adapting with the runes, the fight was just a generic Marvel fight, just a nice Dragon Ball Z, like that, you know, like that. The final scene with the boys, who I didn't actually mention this whole review, oops, was pretty solemn. And then the ending scene with Westview Vision was also pretty great. It really did help end the show in terms of it not just being a cool fight. It was actually a nice solemn moment. The episode was just packed with stuff, and I didn't mind it. I feel like it was paced fine because it didn't have the big clash between the two different stories as it did with the other episodes. So yeah, overall, this was a good conclusion for the show. I'm gonna have to give this episode a solid 7.5 out of 10. If I were to conclude this review, I'm gonna have to say, despite all the negatives, I still really enjoyed the show. This is probably due to the really cool Westview sections of the show that were present mostly early on in the show, and how they put in the effort to include as much symbolism as possible. Anything they show you in these parts have some sort of relevance for later in the show, which is really cool to see. The only negative is the pacing issues that were only ever really a problem once the Rambo section started to come into play. It really felt like a waste of time, and a lot of the information felt spoon-fed to you. I'd also like to point out the fact that I reviewed this entire show without mentioning Haywood. You probably don't even know him. He was that really generic big bad guy. Not really a bad guy, but just that executive guy, Haywood. It really goes to show how generic and useless his character really was because of the fact that I didn't mention him. Same goes for Darcy, by the way. I don't like Darcy that much. Though, besides those two things, I really still like the show. It had a cool concept. I'm looking forward to seeing what else Marvel has in store. Except for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but that's a later thing. I'll do that later. That show really does look generic, but oh well. If I was to give WandaVision an overall rating, it'd have to be a solid 7 out of 10. Maybe a light 7, not a strong 7, a light 7. So yeah, good job Marvel, creative stuff. I'm looking forward to the future. Thank you for watching the video. Yeah, that's it. That's the entire review. Go, enjoy your day. Have a nice day. I'm gonna enjoy my day. I'm gonna probably rewatch WandaVision, but only the first few episodes because those are the only really great episodes. So yeah, goodbye.